And could you all, at the end of the meditation, when the session ends, could you all stay online and sort the groups out before you go away? So we'll sort the groups out at the beginning of the break, and then you can just turn your video off and go off to your break. Have I got that right, Maitri City? Good. Yeah, it just makes it a lot easier for the backroom tech team to sort the groups out first. Okay. Oh, I'm blocking out Padmasambhava. It's not good. I've got to get right between Padmasambhava and Avalokiteshvara. That's good. So we're going to do a meditation practice now, which is a way of doing the metta bhavana using breathing. So it's a kind of mixture of mindfulness and metta. It'll be in the usual 5 stages, and I'll lead it so you can just follow along. But what we'll do with each person in stages 2 to 5 is we will breathe in awareness of them and breathe out loving kindness and metta towards them. This is a kind of way into Tonglen, and I'll introduce Tonglen more fully another day. But it's very, very interesting. Whoever invented Tonglen, I think, was completely brilliant, because you cannot turn away and breathe in at the same time. And as I've been saying, one of the big things about Lojong training is that we include everything and we turn towards that which we normally turn away from. And this way of doing the metta bhavana practice, we're just going to turn very fully towards other beings. It might not be that you normally turn away from people. Obviously, your friend you wouldn't normally turn away from. But you may still have views, opinions, judgments, stories about that person that blocks you being fully receptive to their humanity. So we're going to allow those to fall away, and then we'll just breathe in awareness of that person just as they are, and then breathe out kindliness. I know for myself that if somebody gives me the gift of kind of unbiased, full attention, it feels the most precious gift. If I'm with somebody and I feel they are really receptive to my humanity in that moment, without so much of a veil of all their own views and opinions about me, I do feel that's the greatest gift, where you feel truly received by another human being. It's gorgeous, isn't it? It's absolutely lovely thing. And in this practice, we can train ourselves to turn towards these other people in the practice, let them in fully, give them the gift of awareness, and then breathing out the gift of love. To start with, I've got a reading from Deepa Ma. So this is a wonderful book. I think Wintour still published this book. Deepa Ma was an Indian female teacher who lived at the end of the last century. Really amazing, absolutely amazing. And this is a book of a lot of her Western students talking about her and their experience of her. And this is a very beautiful reading about the, I suppose, the non-duality, if you like, of mindfulness and loving kindness. Because I think, again, sometimes we can see them as separate, but they are 2 doorways into the same experience, as I hope you're beginning to get a bit of a taste of on this retreat. So this is this little story. In a busy Santa Fe coffee house one morning, Sharon Salzberg was asked, "What was Deepa Ma's greatest gift to you?" Sharon paused for a moment and her face softened. "Deepa Ma really loved me," she said. "And when she died, I wondered, will anyone ever really love me like that again?" She fell silent, And for a few moments, it was as if a gate had opened into another world. In this other place, there was only one thing: complete and total love. Of course, Sharon added with a quiet smile, it wasn't just me. It wasn't personal. Jacqueline Mandel once asked Deepa Ma whether she should be practicing mindfulness or loving kindness. Deepa Ma answered, "From my own experience, there is no difference between mindfulness and loving kindness." For her, love and awareness were one. Think about it. When you are fully loving, aren't you also mindful? When you are fully mindful, is this not also the essence of love? Joseph Goldstein recalls that once when he saw Deepa Ma bow to the Buddha, it was so clear that there was no one there. It was just love bowing to love. Another student said, to Deepa Ma, enlightenment was great love. Her teachings were about connecting to others and being kind. Her heart, like the door to her apartment, was always open. And in that great heart, everyone, whether in sorrow or in celebration, could come and go and be held in her loving embrace. A Sufi teacher, Asha Griya, described being hugged by Deepa Ma so thoroughly that my 6 feet fit into her great, vast, empty heart, with room for the whole of creation. So beautiful, really beautiful, isn't it? And she was a tiny little woman, apparently. But I think she probably was enlightened. Which is also, when I first read this book, I found that very encouraging, that you don't hear the story about stories of the great masters just thousands of years ago, but here was this woman, little Indian woman, who died, in our lifetimes, who seemed to have a completely liberated heart and mind when I read the stories. Okay, so let's bring that into the practice, this non-duality of mindfulness and love, and begin by resting down into our position. Just choosing the position carefully with intentionality. What posture is going to support your practice right now? So you can be relaxed and yet alert. Taking a few deeper breaths in if we want to, and releasing with each out breath to help us arrive, settle. Breathing out whatever we've been doing just beforehand. Breathing in presence, arriving here in this moment, in this body, in this breath. And the first stage, resting with a full, open-hearted awareness of ourselves. Letting the breathing be soft in the whole body, the diaphragms participating in breathing, receptive, open, pliable. Yielding the whole body up to gravity. Resting, being supported by the chair, by the floor, by the bed. Opening our awareness to include all of our experience, shutting nothing out. Meeting it all with a kindly, open heart. Breathing in awareness of everything we're experiencing. And then allowing kindliness to pour into our mind, our heart, our body with the out breath. Seeing if we can have an attitude towards ourselves that we would quite naturally have towards somebody that we loved. This open, broad, receptive awareness, allowing all of our experience to flow through the moments with awareness and with kindness. Staying centered, grounded, present, resting on the earth, the chair, the floor. Opening awareness and inviting a friend into our field of awareness. So we're staying embodied, but it's as if our field of awareness expands to include our friend. Really letting that friend into our awareness. And letting go of our stories about our friend, our views about our friend, our opinions about our friend. And seeing if we can let them in in quite a pure sense, just recognizing their humanity, the shared humanity that we have with them. Here they are in their body, resting with us in a field of awareness. Allowing them to transform from object to fellow human being. What might it be like to be them? They're breathing just like us. They have a body just like us. The body will be a field of many different experiences, just like ours is. Some painful, some pleasant. Their deepest impulses will be to avoid suffering and to seek out happiness, ease, fulfillment, just like us. Our strategies may be different, but these basic drives are so very, very similar, as it is with all beings. Breathing in awareness of our friend as fully as we can, and then breathing out kindliness, well-wishing love towards our friend, imagining this out breath pouring love through the whole body, heart, mind. So they become filled with love and kindliness. Do you need to relax or do you need to focus to maintain this open, receptive engagement with the friend? allowing the feeling or the image of the friend to fade. Let's just check back in with our own posture for a moment or two. If there's tension building in the body, you might want to move just a little bit. Adjust your posture. Keeping the body, the heart, the mind soft, receptive, pliable, fluid. Checking you're still allowing gravity to be your friend, to support you. When we're ready, we can open our field of awareness again and inviting somebody that we would describe as neutral into our field of awareness. Maybe someone here on the retreat that you've noticed what they look like, but you don't have any sense of who they are. You don't know them. Allowing this person to come towards us in our imagination and to rest with us in our imagination. Spending some time allowing this person to flesh out, as it were, and to connect on the basis of their humanity, their embodiedness, the knowledge of all that we share, deep down, trying to avoid suffering, trying to find happiness. Having all kinds of feelings and sensations showing up in the body at one time or another, some painful, some pleasant. And what's it like to let this person into our heart without views and opinions about them? In this case, those views and opinions would just be based on what they look like in the little box on the screen. It's so trivial. What's it like to drop beneath that and recognize their humanity? We connect just because they are. Breathing in awareness of this person in their fullness, and breathing out love, kindliness, well-wishing towards them. Be careful not to force or strain around the breathing. It's just the natural breath. But we're allowing our metta to ride the breath. Taking in awareness of the other person and giving love, kindness. Taking and sending the heart of Tonglen. Exchanging self and other right here. Gently allowing the image or the feeling of the neutral person to fade. And again, checking in on our posture. If we need to make any little adjustments to keep the mind, the heart, the body pliable, then by all means doing so. Sometimes tension begins to build. Just micro adjustments can be helpful. Checking we're still yielding up to gravity without collapsing. So there's vitality in the body and release. Breathing in the whole body. And when we're ready, we can open our awareness again and invite somebody we find difficult into our field of awareness. Somebody where there's some irritation, some aversion, some kind of reactivity is triggered in us. And let's see if we can allow this barrier of our own reactivity to soften a little bit, reach over that and connect with this person's humanity. And all that we share, breathing in and out, a dislike of suffering, a longing for happiness, peace, ease, fulfillment. And rather than seeing this person as an obstacle to our practice, let's see this person as an opportunity for deepening our practice, because they're showing us our reactivity, the way our own minds and hearts contract. From a mind training point of view, this person is your greatest spiritual friend, showing you the edges of your practice where there's still more work to be done. Breathing in awareness of this person and breathing out kindliness and well-wishing, or at least the possibility of kindliness and well-wishing, even if we don't feel it right now. So seeing if we can get to the essence that underlies our connection rather than focusing on the difficulty. Let's focus on our common humanity. Breathing in, let them in. Breathing out, giving away love, kindliness, well-wishing. Allowing the filter of reactivity or aversion to soften, even if just a tiny bit, as we sit with this person. Staying centered and grounded, embodied, opening our awareness to include all four people: oneself, the friend, neutral person, person we find difficult. Let's all breathe together for a few moments. Seeing if we can soften our preferencing our friend over the difficult person, and allow our love to be more even-handed. Breathing in awareness of common humanity, breathing out love, while wishing equally to all four people, including ourselves. And now opening our field of awareness still more to include everybody here meditating together, 111 of us. If it works for you, you could imagine us all sharing a space, a big field or a garden or a big hall, socially distanced, but here we all are as three-dimensional humans. Just imagining that there's a field of love that we are all participating in equally. Breathing in awareness of all of us, breathing out love equally towards all of us. And expanding our field of awareness infinitely. So we're staying embodied, grounded, present, but it's like the edges of our awareness become infinite. 7 billion humans, all the other creatures, all participating in the flow of life. Breathing in awareness, breathing out love. Breathing in awareness, breathing out love equally to all life everywhere. The whole world breathing. If you notice any forcing or straining, then backing off and relaxing. If you're a bit drifty and all over the place, then you might like to focus a little bit more. So playing around with effort to find the sweet spot where we're relaxed and yet attentive. Now, bringing the weight of the body strongly to the foreground of awareness, quality of resting, yielding, presence. Allowing our awareness to remain open, but very strongly grounded as we bring the practice to a close. So we have an open heart and yet a strong sense of presence, embodiment, stability. So coming out of the practice however you want to. Maybe doing some small physical movements first of all, keeping the breathing soft. And then what's your body calling for? Good. Got a few moments for inquiry, hearing how anyone got on, what you noticed in that practice, what your experience was. So just some of you might not know about this word inquiry, but it's a really good teaching method where we do a practice and then we have a sort of dialogue about what did you notice, and through sort of open questionings, maybe you go a bit deeper, and we can also learn hearing about other people's experience, because meditation is such a solitary endeavor and it's all done in the privacy of one's own mind, and it can be really, really helpful hearing about what other people are getting up to in the privacy of their own minds. But with inquiry, the principle is that we stay with what actually happened in the practice. We see if we can really stay with our direct experience and what we observed and what we experienced. And then what happened? So we just got a few minutes, probably just, actually it's only about 3 minutes, but if anyone would like to, if you use the raise your hand thingy, I believe it's probably called an icon or something.
Vidyamala, I don't have the raise your hand. It's Rachel.
Hi, Rachel. Yeah, good.
I'm happy to share
Lovely. Thank you.
my experience, or part of my experience. And during the break, I had sleep, and I set my alarm for 3:15. So it was a bit of a sprint to get from 3:15 to here at 3:30. And I settled into the meditation, and I love the metta bhavana. I've always loved the practice of love, and so I settled into the meditation in that kind of sleepy bardo, and in the tricky person, I found I put myself, and this doesn't happen very often. I didn't make conscious choices of who it was going to be, and I found myself in that tricky person stage. And I think it was a heart response. It wasn't a conscious decision. And I've come out of that meditation feeling softer and more open-hearted, and a sense of deeper love for my tricky self. Yeah.
So if you were to reflect on what was the sort of significant aspect of the practice that has led to you feeling softer and more love for yourself, what do you think that would be?
It's the harmonizing, it's the interconnected, your language of the ocean of love. In my metta bhavana practice, I am literally floating on my back with everybody else floating beside me, whether they like the sea or not. This is my practice, has always been to float with the sea holding me and the heat of the sun above me, just playful imagining, and with the breathing going in and out. And it was it's having everybody else there feeling the same, that understanding that everybody else feels that they qualify for that tricky person part of the metta bhavana. So it's the interconnectedness.
Good, and that's a lovely image. Lovely.
Thanks.
Good, thank you. So we'll just have time for one more, which is Barbara. I think you were the next person.
Yes, I've wanted to ask you a question. When it came to, I chose a good friend, but another one kept popping in. And I kept trying to block out the other person, but that other person just kept coming in again. And so in the end, I thought, okay, I'm going to do both people. But is that okay? Is that something that is fine?
Or what was the effect for you of having both people there?
When I was blocking the other person out, I didn't feel comfortable with that. But when I let both of them in, that felt much nicer, much kinder, letting both in.
And were you feeling metta for both of them?
Yes.
Yeah, so I would say that's your answer. It's like, what's the effect? That, you know, these practices, it's not about rules, it's about conditions to bring about certain effect. And that person was obviously just calling for your love. And interesting that, you know, initially when you were trying to, no, you're not supposed to be here, it's the other person, that the language you were using, it sounded like there was a certain amount of tension having to hold that person at bay.
It was, because he's just had an operation, and as I'm saying that to you, I can feel tears in the eyes that he's come through the operation, and that's fine.
Yes.
And so yes, that person was not going.
Yeah, so I think you've answered your own question about how it's important that we're kind of flexible and we remember the point of these practices isn't to have a sort of rigid structure. The point is to lead to opening of the heart and increased love. And sounds like you responded creatively to that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good, good. And of course, you know, we over time we get to know our temperament, don't we? And maybe we're a person who we can just never decide anything. And so we do the bhavana, we just got a whole crowd of people all pouring in and we can't decide which one. And so maybe for us, if that's our tendency, it's good to be a bit more decisive. Or maybe our tendency is to be, I'm not talking about you here, Barbara, but any of us, our tendency might be to be good and do it all properly, which means that we put these kind of walls up. It's a loving kindness practice, but we put these walls up saying, no, I'm only allowed to have one person here. And then that might be a bit rigid. So it's interesting just to play around with our temperament, our habits. You know, clearly the practice does have a structure for a purpose, but that structure is in the service of opening our hearts. It's not in the
What I quite like is Anolio's idea of just radiating metta rather than focusing on a person.
Yeah.
So I do find that much easier.
Yeah, I mean, that's the overall aim, is that we're radiating metta everywhere, but that can be too broad. If that was just the practice, and it's, you know, it's very useful to have these representatives. That's how I see the stages. They're representatives of the human race, that we're kind of practicing how to love this one individual as a kind of rep. And then in the fifth stage, of course, we equalize that and love everybody. Good. All right. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you very much. So let's stop now because we've gone 4 minutes over. Lovely. So see if you can just stay with whatever your experience was. If you do feel more loving, you can stay with that. If you got aggravated and hated the practice, then you can make that your practice. How are you going to work with that? You know, that's this method, is we just bring everything into our hearts and work with it. Lovely. So we've got 5 minutes, but you mustn't go yet because Maitri Siddhi needs you to stay in order to sort the groups out. And maybe we'll start the groups 5 minutes late at 25 to, so people have got time for a nice, well, you've got to wait for the kettle to boil completely, so that'll take another minute or something. Then you're going to do everything mindfully and carefully. So it might take you 5 minutes just to go to the loo and get a drink.
Can I just mention something whilst Maitri Siddhi's sorting out the breakout groups? It's Maitri Devi here. This isn't definite yet, but there might be a password for getting into the morning meditations for technical reasons.